Hi, this is MXUX. I am going to do a quick video here. I think we've all seen on the news Venice Beach and the homeless encampments. And I have a title here brought to you by Snapchat, Google, and Airbnb. And I'm going to explain to you why I think they have a lot to do with this. And although there are no stats out yet on exactly who these homeless people are, I think we can apply this generally. Anyway, let's get started with the video. I hope you like it. Now, one of the things that we have going on here in Venice, in the general Venice area, is we have big tech moving in. And when big tech moves in, all their staff moves in. And I can tell you, I have, from good sources, information saying that the rents in this general area, in Venice Beach area, and out to the marina, but let's just talk about the general Venice Beach area, the surrounding area, 10-mile circle, whatever. Rents have gone up 250%. That's in the last 2 years. That's with the pandemic. Okay, what happens is, and I have down here Snapchat HQ drawing the ire of Venice residents. This is an old video, but I'll show you. There's Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Snapchat. Snapchat has bought up a lot of landmark property in Venice, and they've brought buildings that have held apartments and that have been housing buildings and other things. But let's just keep it general here. Let me play this. This is a clip from the news so you guys can get a feeling for this. And this is 2017, okay?
Protest tonight in Venice. Some people think the red-hot, fast-growing tech company Snapchat is ruining the neighborhood, gobbling up offices and apartments, driving up prices for everyone, and they'd like to see it stop. Tonight, KCAL9's Tom Waite is live at Snapchat
Too late to stop it.
where protesters did not filter their feelings tonight. Tom?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Susie. And as you said, Snapchat is red hot. They're getting ready to go public this Thursday.
Before
and when they
they're
do,
public,
it's expected they'll make billions of dollars in the stock market. But residents here are upset, they say, because Snapchat owns and leases so much property. Take a look just behind me. All these buildings behind me, these are Snapchat buildings. And the people who live here say they just lease and own too much.
There you go. And this is 2 years before the encampments on the beach.
Folks here say Snapchat is gobbling up commercial and private real estate, making Venice unaffordable. Patrick Davis has lived in Venice for decades.
What do you expect to happen when you come in here and buy up a bunch of real estate and make prices higher and make absolutely no effort to meet anybody in the community or do anything for the community?
This is a graveyard. All these properties are gone and now belong to Snapchat.
Snapchat's offices are spread across Venice. In this spot, they stretch a block of Market Street not far from the beach. Neighbors say the buildings used to house local cafes and galleries where neighbors shared in a community. They're now calling this spot a ghost town. But not everyone is opposed to Snapchat.
Snapchat revitalized the neighborhood very much so.
Michael Madoff owns his restaurant on the beach just a block from Snapchat.
Yeah, well, he ain't saying that now.
School locals don't want any kind of corporate change of any sort. They want it to remain the way it is for the last 100 years.
I'm going to tell you why this guy's wrong here in a
Snapchat
minute.
declined an on-camera interview, instead releasing this statement. We don't just have our headquarters here. Many of us also call Venice home.
That's a problem.
We've been very grateful to be a part of this creative community for over the last
Used to be a
4
creative
years,
community.
and we've worked closely with local schools and nonprofits to be a good neighbor. And it is pretty interesting when you come to Snapchat's headquarters because you really can't tell that you're in the headquarters area. Most of these buildings are not marked. You can see behind me very nondescript.
Yeah, stealth.
And unmarked.
Stealth. They don't
We
want
did speak
anyone
with
to
some
know.
Snapchat staff off camera. They were not allowed to speak to us on camera. They say they volunteer in the community. They donate to the charities here. They're trying to be good corporate neighbors. We're
Okay.
live tonight in Venice. Let's go back to you in the studio.
Okay.
Tom, thank you.
Okay,
Protest tonight in
that's
Venice. Some people think the red hot.
okay. Snapchat has been a main offender. I mean, they've gobbled up landmark buildings down on Venice Beach, and buildings that had apartments in them and low. There used to be a lot of low cost housing. I mean, the character of Venice has changed over the years, but this has happened. This is true. This is real, and I just want to go to the next slide here. Okay, Google has expanded its borders to Playa Vista. Now, Google had an office in Venice at one end of the beach, and now they've gone to Playa Vista, where there's a giant complex, which is at the other end of Venice Beach, really Marina del Rey. But at least their properties border each end of Venice Beach, and massive land massive. See, from Venice to Playa Vista, they have the landmark. There's a building there that Frank Gehry designed with binoculars in front of it. That's a Google building. But again, they operate stealth like these other tech companies do, so that you don't really know what's going on where. But anyway, Google paid $120 for 12 vacant acres next to the Spruce Goose Hangar. This is in Playa, commercially zoned, blah, blah, blah. Now, this guy says, phenomenal for the West Side and Los Angeles Council. City Councilman Mike Bonin. I'd like to see who his political donors are, okay? A few years ago, Google had increased social presence by opening the Venice Beach, okay? 100,000 square foot and 3 buildings. The Binoculars building. Main Street build, and there's other buildings. Like I said, these guys all doing stealth, Microsoft opened 20,000 in Playa Vista, and Facebook as well. Now, I don't know what the date on this is. I'm trying to find a date here. Okay, I think this actually might be old. The point is, I want to explain to you now these councilmen and everything, they're talking about how it's affordable, how they've brought it is a thing called the Silicon Beach, and they're going from the Silicon Valley to the Silicon Beach. Anyway, they have bought up everything all over the place. Okay? Rents are up. And this is over, let's say the last year to date. Let's say since COVID started. Rents in this area are up 250%. I don't think you're going to find a statistic for that. I don't think anybody studied it on a granular level, but I can tell you from anecdotal evidence, which is very strong, 250% increase in rents. 250%. Astronomical rents. Small apartments, 700 square foot apartment going for $2,500, $3,000 a month. This is the type of rents that have come into being after Snapchat and Google moved in here. Now, I want to explain to you why. And this guy here, phenomenal, great for the LA economy. Let me tell you something about when Google, let's just take Google for an example. They're moving in the neighborhood. Everybody's like, great. It'll be great for the shops. It'll be great for all the businesses. Let me tell you something about Google. They have a palatial cafeteria, 24-hour food service. Their staff, nobody that works there favors any of the local restaurants, okay? Nobody. They eat in-house, they get free food. Nobody. They get free drinks. They don't even favor the convenience stores. As far as the bars go, These guys live at work. I've talked to people that have worked at Google, and people have been reprimanded because they stay there 5 days in a row. They have showers. People sleep in their car and go back to work. They don't join gyms. They don't work out. They don't do anything. These people work 80-hour weeks. They spend no money in the community. Okay? And what happens is they drive up the rents 250%, force all the locals out, and they are completely insular. They don't even buy clothing. If you happen to see them out somewhere, they all got Google clothing on. I mean, it's ridiculous. They spend zero money in the local community. Nothing. And again, they drive out all the former businesses with more normal employees that would go out for drinks on Friday night or go out to a restaurant for lunch, go to a clothing store and buy clothes. They force all those businesses out. They drive all the rent up for the regular residents. And by the way, these apartments and so forth, they know they'll get this rent. They'll leave an apartment vacant. They don't care. They will not lower the rent. So this is what happens when big tech moves into your neighborhood. And then you had the previous thing about Snapchat. So not only did the Snapchat staff use housing, they bought up all kind of housing. They bought up real estate, took apartments off the market. So that here's a suggestion I have for the federal government or the local government or state government, and they're all getting donations from these big companies. We should put a tax on Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all these big tech firms. If you want to have a workplace with people at that workplace, because what happens is, and this has happened in Silicon Valley, it's happened in San Francisco, you can look it up for yourself, creates an economic black hole. Okay? In other words, it just forces everybody out, and it turns it into an economic desert. We should have some kind of rules. Now, we got Jack Dorsey has allowed his employees to work forever away from home. We should say you have a seat tax. If you have a headquarters, you want to have people, okay, you know what? You're going to have people here. We're going to tax every head that you have working here at this location. And in that way, they could disperse the workforce and mitigate the damage, again, the economic black hole that these companies create. And they also drive up the price of single-family dwellings and so forth. And they do not employ, it's not like they have 5,000 people working. They do not employ that many people, okay? Even all of them together don't employ that many people. If you're talking about people, like at this Google location. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I think you should have a head tax if they want to have employees there. Sure, you want to have employees there, make them pay. Use that money to mitigate the housing and other problems they cause. Okay, because nobody's doing it right now. Now, let's talk about the other boogeyman here, the high-tech boogeyman, Airbnb problem. This is another thing that has totally devastated this Venice Beach area. It's Airbnb. And I'll give you a couple anecdotes. And we're going to look at this article, too. Couple things I know personally of. I know a couple that was evicted out of an apartment on Venice Beach, right there where those people are. It was low-cost housing. They were there for years, and the landlord took over one apartment, said that this person wanted to live in it, and then forced them out, took them to court, forced them out, and said that their son, because you can do it for a family member, their son was going to live in the second apartment there. And I believe one of the other tenants died. And I don't know if it was a 3 or 4. Anyway, the point is, None of this was true. She emptied the apartments, turned them into Airbnbs, eliminated affordable rent apartments and turned them into Airbnbs. I know another couple people, same situation, not far from Venice Beach, renting an apartment. The apartment next door to them comes up empty. These guys are enterprising. They go to the landlord. They go, hey, we'll pay you X amount of dollars. Let us lease this apartment. And we'll put it on Airbnb, and we'll just pay you. We'll take care of everything. We'll maintain it and everything. No, sure, no problem. Goes off the market. Affordable housing goes off the market. All of a sudden, I think they're renting it monthly. This was a while ago for $3,500 a month. So I don't know what they're renting it for now. Now here's the rub. Started with one apartment. Now it's 2 buildings. Okay? We're talking, these aren't giant buildings. We're talking probably 24 units. But that's 24 units of affordable housing that are gone out of this community. And undoubtedly business travel for Google and the rest of them. And let's just see. This is inside Airbnb Watch, inside Airbnb. 76% of Airbnb rentals in Venice are entire home units. Again, they're taking now rental homes off. Those units have been removed from the rental market at a moment when the city's housing shortage is topic A on the lips of every politician. So, you got Airbnb. This is hundreds of apartments. Okay. Tenants tell example of buildings, including rent stabilizers, is where landlords have kicked out long-term tenants to make way for illegal hotel operations, which is what they did. We now live in a residential building that's been turned into a hotel with any regard for any of us. It's a non-stop barrage of loud people. Now, the point is, and you could say, well, it's private property and property rights, and I agree, and but these people are skirting the law, okay? They're skirting the law. They're not doing it legally, and Airbnb is not doing anything about it, and neither is anybody else, because nobody seems to care. I think Airbnb plowed millions of dollars into local issues here that were on the ballot to defeat them, that would have limited their access and so forth. But what's happening, again, you got Snapchat buying up everything, okay? Google moving all their people in. They're taking over everything, raising the rents. Who knows what Google's buying, by the way? Nobody really knows. And now you got Airbnb. So you wonder why there's all these homeless people on. Now, they haven't done a census of who's on the beach, okay? But I'm just saying. There might be a correlation, it might be spurious, but it doesn't matter. These neighborhoods have been totally decimated. And the other thing is, as I said, the local businesses are dead. And they've turned into seasonal businesses. When the outside travelers are in town, they're busy. When they're not, they're not. Because again, these people do not spend any money. These employees of Airbnb they go nowhere. They do nothing. They contribute nothing to the local economy. Anyway. Now, one of the reasons I made this video is, the eviction moratorium is ending at the end of July that was put in place for the pandemic. I'm sure millions of people in America are going to lose their homes. This is bad for our chi. It's a stain on all of our souls. I had a video. I couldn't find it. I'm glad I couldn't find it. I'm going to put a link in the description for this video for you to write President Biden on this topic. I'm going to tell you all about that in a minute. But the point is, this guy, he was 67 years old or whatever he was. He's living in an apartment. He said he'd lived there for 18 years. Got a note on the door one day. Quit, you're evicted. Just like that. And he's out on the street. I believe this was in Colorado. He's on a fixed income, you know, first month rent, last month rent, security deposit. Yeah, you know, in some of these cities, like when I'm talking, when you've got the $3,000 of rent, so you got first month rent, $3,000, last month rent, $3,000, security deposit, $3,000. That's $9,000 you have to come up with to rent an apartment. This guy's, and the story was, they got him in emergency housing. They got him in an ice fishing tent. Okay, guys. This is bad for our chi. This is a stain on our soul. We have to do something about this. Anyway, let's just move on. How socialists solve the housing problem. Now, this is a thing here. I'm just going to play a little bit of this. This is from this Gravel.
Of struggling families across the country. But the truth is, this crisis didn't begin with the pandemic.
All right.
In fact, housing has been in crisis for a very long time.
He's talking about
Even
the
before
pandemic, about the
in places
eviction
like New York
notices.
Or Los Angeles or San Francisco,
See?
median rents for even one-bedroom apartments could approach $2,500.
I just want. These are three areas, by the way, where you have tech, high tech, and you have Airbnb. Okay, again, and by the way, this guy is talking about the eviction moratorium going off. Now let's just
or more. About a third of people in Los Angeles spend a majority of their income on housing. In New York City, about 20% of all renters pay most of their income to their landlord. And in my district, Astoria, about a quarter of residents have to spend most of their paycheck on rent. And the crisis isn't just in big cities. In 95% of all US counties, workers making the minimum don't make enough to afford a one-bedroom rental on their own. The Harvard Center for Housing Studies warns of a new normal for housing in the United States, in which nearly half of all renter households spend almost a third of their income on rent. That's why even before the fallout from the coronavirus started to hit, more than 500,000 Americans nationwide were already homeless, millions more on the brink of losing their housing, and countless families struggling every month to make ends meet.
All right, now let's just. I think there was a number of. I'm trying to think of how many homeless people died on the street last year in Los Angeles. They did a census. I think there's 50,000 homeless people. I want to say 1,000 people. I don't know if that was high, but actually people are dying. You know, if somebody's lost in the woods, you know, you mount helicopters and everything to go find them so they don't die of exposure. When someone's on the street, no one cares. Now, what he's going to go through here is how socialists solve the housing problem. What he's going to talk about, and I'm not going to play the whole video. I'll put a link to this in the description. Is government-funded housing. Now, we are passing the infrastructure bill right now, okay? There are countries, Austria is one, Singapore is another. You know, in Austria, you know, where Arnold Schwarzenegger's from, I think, 70% of the people live in what's called public housing. In Singapore, it's 80%. And what this solution involves is the federal government playing a role in building housing, and not the Cabrini Green, you know, the big giant, you know, they put them in the worst possible neighborhood. They put a high-rise in, and it's a horrible thing. They're talking about building, you know, community acceptable housing in different locations in the midst of the regular community that is backed by the federal government. I think this is a good use of our tax dollars. And I want to tell you, when you have homeless people, it hurts business, it hurts the standards of health in the area, it lowers property values, it lowers the quality of life. And here's a rub that a lot of people don't know about. You know, health insurance is very expensive in the United States. It goes by zip code. If you have a lot of homeless people in a zip code, or you have homeless people seeking medical services in a zip code, they go to the hospital Let's say you call a fire department and they come out, they make a call, they have a bill for, I don't know what it is they charge. It's pretty high. I think to have a paramedic come, it's like over $1,000. They call an ambulance, have them take the person to the homeless person to the emergency room. That ambulance is, it's another $1,000 anyway, right? They go to the emergency room and they don't have health care. They're getting emergency medical treatment. You know how expensive it is to go to the emergency room. $3,000, $5,000, whatever it is. Could be more. Here's the thing. They can't pay that. These hospitals roll that cost over into other people's bills. And so that's why you pay $50 for an ACE bandage. This homeless problem is raising your health insurance costs. Okay? People, it behooves you to do something about it. Anyway, the point is, talking about healthcare, I have right here, this is a quick thing about from German TV.
Attempt to overturn the national healthcare law known as Obamacare. The decision means that affordable health insurance for tens of millions of Americans will remain intact.
Okay.
It was passed by the Obama administration in 2010 to address large gaps in healthcare coverage for Americans.
Okay. Joe Biden was Obama's vice president. He was involved in this. You heard it covers gaps where people can't get health care coverage. Let's have Biden care, okay? I'm going to make a suggestion. I hate when people make these suggestions, but I'm going to make a suggestion. Let's have Biden care. Let's structure it just like Obamacare, only let's have it for housing, okay? Obamacare, it works very well, in my opinion. It is giving people that need the help most, getting them the help. The way it's working, the way people sign up for it seems to be working very well. And people are getting the help they need and the health care that they need at a price they can afford. Let's do the same thing for housing. And let's start with these people that are on fixed incomes, they're over 65, and let's start with families, young families that have no housing. Let's start right there. And also, we have this infrastructure program that's going into being, the $9 trillion. Let's put some housing in there. The way they do it in Singapore, they build it and they give people 99-year leases. Austria, the government owns it. Some places they sell it. Some places they contract with local builders to build it, and the government manages it. Again, some they sell as permanent housing. Some they give 99-year leases on. This can all be worked out. It's done all over the world. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have the model for Obamacare. I would like to see it come to fruition. I think we all. I am going to put a link in the description of this video. And let's all send Joe Biden an email. And let's say, Joe Biden, you worked with President Obama on Obamacare. We want Biden care. We want you to house the homeless and house people that are disadvantaged with a federal housing program. And we want you to model it on Austria or Singapore or whatever. Let's do that. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Again, brought to you by Snapchat, Google, and Airbnb. I really think that, again, they haven't done a census on this, but this isn't the only problem. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of tents in this community. This is just the most visible area. It's everywhere. Every available open public space. Again, brought to you by Snapchat, Google, and Airbnb. Rents up 250%. Housing units taken off the market. You get the drift. Anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. I'm going to put a link in the video. I want everybody who watches this to email Joe Biden and say, put this in the infrastructure bill. We want Biden care. We want it for housing. We want to we want to house these people, and we want to build our chi up and get this stain off our soul. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video.